Wicked. That's us.
Yeah. How
Cool.
exciting. Our 10th podcast. Thanks to Maximus for telling.
Podcast number 10.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait.
There you are.
let's rise the level for this one.
with a moving table, with an absolutely fantastic workbench. Actually,
Yeah.
phenomenal workbench. That's actually quite a good level. I
That
like
is a good
there.
one.
Yeah.
Well, if I put it like this, it's bar height, so we can discuss at that moment after the
yeah,
talk.
exactly.
Oh, dear. Love it.
So, who is Maximus, the wood sculptor?
Maximus is the artist name behind Maxime, myself. So the name has been given by my teacher at school at the time. But very much I'm a normal guy like everybody else, but the wood has been given me passion to making sculptures, and very much I have a big variety to offer and to give into sculpture, but not only with wood, snow, ice, and there's no limit what I can try. But also doing a lot of research, doing different stuff. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous now.
No, don't be
Don't be
nervous. Don't be nervous. So when did it all start?
Oh, so 15 years I was already working with wood. Like I had the luck to have a great connection with wood carpentry, just around the corner from my house.
Yep.
Working there like a little, and then always working with wood and the skills. And at school, always continue at school with wood. Wood always has been my main material, my main medium. But then I said I want to go more, and so I did 1 year furniture restoration. So it's a specialty year. Then there was seventh year specialty, and then I wanted to go more. And at that point, my teacher said, look at that school. It's called in the southern of Belgium in Wallonie in Tournai, Saint-Luc Tournai, and it's a French school. First of all, I didn't speak French. I do count, but that was offering to order the beers, so that they understand. But at the same time, I was very much well integrated there because my character is very social, about meeting other people, sharing a lot, and it's a very family. You have all these students from different backgrounds and different ages also, and they want to go back with the roots of working with their hands.
Nice.
And it's very passionate people who are there, and even the teachers are more amazing. They very much know where they are coming from or what they want to develop or they want to push their limits. So it's very much there. I did 2 years of cabinet maker, master cabinet maker. So we made at those 2 years learning the skills from the old times, but you made the furniture from out of museum. So by the 1 millimeter or 1 inch, precisely making those furnitures.
Replicas of them.
Yeah, it has a lot of different techniques. So you have mechanics in it. You have inlay, wood turning, tapered legs, some carving in it, and so you learn all those in the first 2 years.
Wow.
And then you have the option in that school to have different directions. So you have a specialty year in marquetry, a specialty year in how do you say it? Around furniture, you push the leather on it, or
I know the name for that.
upholstery.
Yeah.
So there's a 2 year upholstery specialty also there. We have furniture restoration, so there's also a specialty year there. Now they have continued with evolution. They have just got their CNC machine also in, because for interior. So you need to go with. It's very old school. It has go through the World War II. So it has survived some. There are some pillars there with a bullet hole from a plane going through.
Oh, wow.
So, but
So that's everything from like the very traditional techniques right through to very modern CNC techniques that they're teaching there now.
yeah. So it's very much different. And then the last specialty was sculpture, and that was I already was in 5th grade there because.
So what age is that?
That was 20. Well, it's like that. I need to go back a bit because I'm feeling old now. I think it was around 21. 2016 was my first. 2016. Wait, I'm 29 now. We're 22. Going back around 2022 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
I did special, so it was around 21. I was around in fifth, but with the politics around it, coming from Flanders in the north, going to the Wallonis, the diplomas don't accept there because they don't go through Brussels.
Okay.
So I didn't go to that, but that gave me 2 years advantage to have more work, 2 years extra with wood.
Yeah.
Because originally I went there for sculpture.
Right.
So I already had the idea and already was integrated when I was in fifth. Teachers didn't like it because I was already running away there, learning there from. So I was already and then in seventh I came there.
Right. Okay.
And that's how those 2 years that has changed a lot for me.
And was that it? Once you got your hands on doing the sculpture stuff, you knew that was you. That's what you wanted to do.
It was already from the age from 15 I wanted to work with wood and finding those limits, those what you can create with this beautiful medium that is still alive. And even with wood that can be considered garbage, creating something with something unique with it. Is it a furniture? Is it a table? It just has been the material, but sculpture has caught my interest because it's something I never seen before and create something very much personal also.
Yeah. So do you think that if you had done, so people that tend to want to work with wood, you know, the normal route is carpentry, cabinet maker, furniture maker.
Yeah.
But if you'd gone that route, do you think you would have always wanted more? Has the sculpture allowed you to be Maximus?
The sculpture has been allowed to be Maximus,
Yeah.
yes, that's well. Because it was when I was already in the fifth grade there for master cabinet maker, I was already integrated with the sculpture students there and the teacher. And he really has a font on me because I brought always metal for the bronze casting bronze.
Yeah.
So it's the seventh there you learned it all. But he already was saying I was showing interest in the school and all that. So it was I had a good connection and a big respect for him.
Yeah.
So it was already then, and then everybody calls me by have given me the nickname Maximus, and at that point it was captain on the school, and I was everywhere integrated very much. Like I was going, I went around a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, I went to my workbench, but at the same time, when I was a break or when I didn't had the lessons, I was in other sections of the school, like in mode, in fashion. Yeah. Because I think in French first and then in English. So now I have 3 languages and learning already 2 others one. So being busy. Then with fashion, volume, designer, architecture. So it's a school that has a very broad offering for every kind of student has a passion about them. But it's very unique. It's a school that's not, you cannot compare any other school with it.
And it sounds quite collaborative as well.
It's very collaborative. That's a good part of it. I have a lot of friends who were in design from section design, and my best friends from there. So this community already had a good feeling for me to go to that school. I was very lucky to have from my parents that giving the opportunity to have these studies, but they understand also what I'm very stubborn on, passion.
Yeah.
Stubborn can be good also.
Yeah. Stubborn. I'm convinced that being stubborn is ultimately one of the biggest key attributes you can have, because I mean, if we weren't stubborn, we would not still be doing We Are Makers.
Yeah.
You know, we would have jacked it in a long time ago. So if you hadn't gone to that school, do you think you'd still be where you are now? Or do you think that school's opened the gates, opened the skill sets, opened the...
That school has created my real personality.
Oh, okay.
It was a little bit, I was very much blocked personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was cool because they have a little bit of a different philosophy than here in Flanders. They're a little bit, they are more open, and I think personally also passionate, and they're not so stressed about it. But it was a school. I met some amazing people. You can very much develop your pure personal being, and you don't need to hide anything. It's
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
quite
you
special.
don't need to be some Instagram account just for the public. You can very much be your pure self
Yeah.
and develop that character yourself. And it's not just with the name Maximus of Sculpture, but it's just myself being me.
It's your
And that's
personal brand. Oh, it's your personal brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
it's already been a bit more personal brand, so how I am with connecting with other people, and that have helped me finding right connections and the right people at the right time, because those influence everyone. Like you guys, when I heard that you do this and you got in contact with Ben and Manu from edition 4,
Yes.
it was with their amazing tables. I
Yeah.
already I loved them, and I knew them a little bit. But I saw this book and say, "Wow, you guys are in there!" And say, "Yeah. Wait, you need to be in there." And then last minute, just 2 days before the deadlines hit, you guys, I got in contact with you,
Yeah,
and
you
so
did. Yeah.
it was a lot of work to get me in edition 5, but
That's good.
I didn't sense beard, no,
No.
or no chocolate. So, but at the same time, I truly understand what you guys are trying to develop, because personally I'm in that kind of same mental search for community and understanding of sculpture. So
And how is that community around here? Is there a lot of other makers, or are you finding yourself reaching further afield?
well, I have been lucky to have met some makers, but they are more from the old skills, so the real veterans. So
Right.
we have the village Bruges a little bit further, and there's a glass blower there that I met a few years ago when I was a student still, because I did an Art Nouveau sculpture, mirror sculpture,
Oh,
and I didn't want to integrate certain metals into it, but I wanted to maybe have some certain aspect in glass. So I done a research on glass, and then his daughter hit me up and said, "Yeah, you need to come to the workshop when it's open." So from an exposition, and then I talked with him, and there was a great connection because he has such a great energy. He has the nickname the Rabbit. So he's going from the left to right, and he's crazy. And I learned a little bit of glass blowing from him, because I have a little interest to combining glass with wood for certain parts of designing lights with sculptural lights, and he's crazy. It's amazing. Very
Well, a
Glass-
much.
good
yeah.
guy to be around, I'll bet.
Yeah. He's very much, because he has a lot of experience for traveling, working with other salesmen, or but he has no limit. He is always saying, if you have a book, this is your little gold pile. I have maybe 3 filled up with sketches.
Yeah.
He has a full encyclopedia just in his head.
Yeah.
Always working in the ideas, and those guys are very much a big inspiration for other younger makers,
Yeah.
and that I want to do at the same time. I have been a little bit of sculpting around it, and meet some young guys who just came in the symposium, never done, for example, ice sculpting, and I helped them because I was in their position.
that's
Also
really
the
important.
medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very strong community we have then.
Yeah.
Same thing like here, we have the book, and you read about other makers. I'm still now I need to go back to edition 1. Thank you for getting them. But I already have 2 and 3 through, and 4 I'm now still finishing. So, and 5 I'm getting there. But
It's a lot of reading.
there was a lot of reading, but at the same time, it's very much interesting how you have different makers with different viewpoints at different points at the time. This before COVID, after COVID.
Yeah.
This COVID has been a big hit for all the community around the world. So some have been stronger, and some has fell out, and they taking a break to have. I know a few who don't do it anymore their passion and they want to play it safe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's in some respects it's definitely upset a lot, but I think for a lot of people, I think it's made, it's kind of brought home that you are only going to get one chance at this. Do what you enjoy. It's certainly changed our mindsets a little bit, hasn't it? From the we must do all the financial right things and all the things that seem right on paper to something could come along tomorrow and wipe you out.
Yeah,
So just do the right thing that feels right at the time. It's certainly, because I've always been very black and white, financially minded. Like, this is what you need to do to get the mortgage. This is what you need to do that. And I've always been on that path. And
I need to learn from you because I'm difficult. I difficult with the black and white version of beyond financial. But I learned a lot. For example, my father, he's very strong with financial, and sometimes I make mistakes or doing some buying that not needs to be done, or investment that not need to be done. But sometimes you need the tools to have created, or sometimes you need to make a bill other calculation. So sometimes I'm still going through with my father. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Because he has also great knowledge and experience in the past. So that's also important.
Yeah. And what's your mum and dad's past? Were they involved in creative endeavours, or are they...
No.
Right.
So my father worked in the bank. So he's from little, he has always worked from every stages into the bank. So from working at the people come to check in their checks and all that. So every position he had, so he's understand every section, and that I'm doing with my sculpture also, understanding every position. Is you met someone at an organization and you know what they do, even the volunteers, what are they doing, what they do, what can I do easy to have it great communication. My mother, for example, she works in the Haan, and she takes care of children who has very hard disabilities.
Right.
And from young age, so that's a very emotional job. I have a lot from her emotions. So
Right.
I'm really softy, even if I have a chainsaw with a 1 meter blade. I'm very much a softy.
Yeah. So
A big hugger, but
so they're very
but they're very knowledgeable in having the community and the connection with other people. We know those people, talk with them. So I needed to learn a lot from other people. So and being open to that, even being so stubborn as I am. So
where do you think your creative spark came from? Where do you think that real want to do sculpture, to be a creative, came from?
It's very much the big. First of all, I work a lot, so and that I have from my parents, always going through and work a lot but still being healthy. What? Mentally healthy. Yeah, sorry. My English is not always. I have some training last
Your
week.
English is a lot better than my French or Belgian.
Merci mon ami. On va commencer en français ou pas?
No idea.
Sorry, folks. Well, maybe there will be some French subtitles for the French. So
Maybe if the listenership's big enough for that.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know if there was people from all over the world listening to it.
Well, there is a few.
I have a lot of connections in France because I love to travel there. So, but at the same time, it's the creative parts. Being my very self, I have always worked from a young age. So, always being busy with my hands, but also creating solutions, creating like if it wasn't for sculpture, I was maybe furniture designing or creating some unique pieces of furniture. I always look for limits. I always do a lot of research for other stuff. So like in metal, soldering, what can I do different to the metal to have it integrated in the sculpture, or even for now, I'm doing some research on some series of bronze sculpture. I want to create some bronze sculptures for public art. So that's it. There's a lot of things happening at the same time. We have a saying, having a lot of hay on your fork, or that means you have a lot on you. But that's not always good. But for me, it gives me always alive.
Yeah.
And time management, you learn then from at that
Time
moment.
management.
Time management, you learn then.
So time management is something that I think a lot of makers struggle with,
Yes.
and you also work a full-time job as well, don't you?
Yes, I
So how
work.
does time management look for you?
So most important part is try to get back to the shop.
Yeah.
Try to back out in the studio and doing something. It's just maybe if it's just cleaning up, but yeah, I do work a full-time job as a carpenter for a good boss, and that's the good part of it. I always had two good bosses. My boss, I worked from 15 for 9 years for him. So I was still as a student at the time. Here we are a little bit crazy of working. So Wednesday afternoon after school, I went there to work. Then the Saturday and the Sunday, I worked also there. So it's always been busy. So in 9 years, I worked for him and the student. And then after work, after school, I also started working for him. So I learned a lot from him. Meeting the right people also gives you those opportunities, because he also let me have my holidays or my extra hours being put into holiday vacation to do sculptures around the world.
Wicked.
That's cool.
So
It's a good connection.
Yeah.
it's a good connection. And my boss, my present boss, so he has accomplished a lot for himself, being very much in the detail of creating great quality. So what he does and what we does are mainly window and all massive wood. So windows, doors, gates, but also timber work, and I very much it's carpentry.
Yep.
But not just on CNC fabrication. It's very much quality, very much the top level, because we also do for historical monuments.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's give a great punch for me, because this steps something out of my comfort zone. I can have some great windows to be made that were 200 years old. For last, I think 2 years ago, I made with him a window that was from a painter's house in Bruges, and you can still see the house. It's amazing, and it's 4.5 meter wide and 6 high, and it's with 1, 2, 3, 4. It's with 20 individual windows with glass stained lead.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
And then we developed a part of insulated glass behind. So this was all in massive oak, because it needs to be, but
Just
it was in
because of the
3
size of
parts,
it,
it's
yeah.
in the size. And making something like that was pretty new. But the original parts need to come on back, because it was a painter's house. And what he did, I didn't know that. He already set up for closing the windows against the lights. Not some curtains, but in wood.
Shutters.
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 Yeah.
So all the windows has a shutter. So he already positioned the evening light. So his subject that he paints was already in the good light. So he had a full day to paint the persons.
Right, so they weren't just windows; they were very thought-out windows, and
Yeah,
they were in the right place.
already at the time. So they were over 200 years old, and now
Wow.
we have the opportunity to recreate this. And it means so much. You can have something historical be made, and now in 200 years there will be another carpenter finding maybe a funny joke we wrote inside. No.
And is that's all traditionally done with hand
But
tools
it's
and machines and-
with the recent tools, but it's in the traditional way of having the water flow out to protect the inside. But it's already all good done. So we don't have to plane with hand, of course, but cutting up the from you start with the log that's been cut in slabs.
Yeah.
Like this one, you glue the parts up, and after that you wait a minute. Table is a little bit low. I see. There's a little bit of a block. There it is. It was not like we are at the board, the table
it's
getting
got that
lower
one.
and
Yeah,
lower.
no.
It's getting lower and lower.
But
So-
it's like that. It will be there for more than 200 years.
Yeah. And that's that sort of side of things where you're full-time
Time managed.
job. Yeah, and then you're in here weeknights and weekends?
I try to be. Sometimes I come here in the evening and try to manage a little bit of time. So, for example, Wednesday I try to stay home after work to do paperwork or some research a lot, or even the Fridays, or depends on what job it's coming.
Yeah.
So, but then weekend I try to be here. But depends of. It's very much variable, but I try to be here as much as I can. So, but still, you have a private life and manage that, and sometimes
a work-life balance.
yeah, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I have the opportunity to travel at the same time having a full-time job. So I know I need to have my physical energy spent towards my boss also. So it has this mutual respect of I can travel and doing my sculpture, and he knows he can count on me for doing the job done because I'm the only one in the shop making all the windows and.
Right.
We don't have any more like skilled people who are very much we receive some young guys, but they don't have the bones like we had at the time of the mentality of going at the Wednesday evening, working, or the Saturday, or even the Sunday. Now they very much internet based. There's a generation that's coming back now. I have more the feeling of it, but
Yeah.
it will take some time to have some real craftsmen.
Yes. Yeah, and so one of the big things that's happened back home in Glasgow, and it is coming back with the shipbuilding. The shipbuilding just disappeared.
That's a luck. If I wasn't in furniture, wood building was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's very much precise work, but still always a challenge to the curve.
Yeah. So, but then the steel side of the shipbuilding, like when we actually used to, build, I think there was a point that 90% of the ships that were floating on the world's ocean were built in Glasgow.
Whoa.
And then they just stopped building them in Glasgow. Now, recently, BAE Systems have actually just won a contract and they're going to start building ships in Glasgow again. But there's a whole generation missing.
Yeah.
A gap.
And that's skills that now can't be transferred. So they're having to build a whole new college to teach people how to build ships again, and I think
History repeats himself because
Every time.
with the Middle Ages, you have the Black Time, and that was when there was a lot of war. So cultural-wise, there was no money or investment time to do art. So there has been a black period of time. So nevertheless, with Glasgow, with the shipbuilding, you have a generation that has. We had the same thing here, but this is small. With the COVID, the guys, the young folks, they don't only want to do some being famous on internet and all that. Okay, some of them do well and they're passionate about, but they expect everything comes by them.
Yeah, there is definitely a bit of that, and I think, but I do think that there is a whole generation of younger folk that are seeing people like yourself who are not much older, or people like even Captain's Distillery, and
you're old when you forget to be young.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I like that one.
So but they're relatable in age, and they're seeing these crafts being done, and they're seeing that it is all possible. You just need to work really hard to do
You
it.
need to work very hard, but I think it can never be done alone.
No.
You have this support generation. Is it a family? Is it with friends? Even at my school, I was very much a black sheep there. Even I was around with everybody else, but I had a few friends that I can't just count on one hand.
Yeah.
There. So having this right connection with people who are there to support you, and likewise, having this success is only when you have the right connection. And even if you don't have it, and you work very hard, you always will have the moment you met someone.
Yeah.
Even it's a small gestures of someone said, you need to do it like that because of that, and you learn from that. If you're open, of course, because some people have a difficult past and are difficult to open up, or have their style, and they shut their eyes close to other techniques because they have also the imposter syndrome from it being influenced too much by others, and they think I'm not original. No, knowledge is for everybody, but the style is personal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I couldn't agree with that more. No, like all the information's out there if you look hard enough. But and it's the same with people worrying about other people copying their work. Like your style will always be your style.
Yeah.
Like you could see if
But you always have some traces from other people.
always have some traces from
It's
other people.
almost impossible to develop something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's
Like, for
gonna
example,
take-
you have a microphone.
Yeah.
The technique is the same, but it's still developing, but the basic is the same. But you can change the design, you can change maybe the parts in fiberglass to have less sway to influence the sound that's create little micro vibrations, for example.
Yep.
I'm just babbling, but
But no, it's the same thing,
it's
isn't
a
it?
little thought
everything's
concept
been
of
done.
everything.
Yeah, everything has been. So there's an interesting question. So how do you stay original in your sculpture work and your stuff? Because it is so easy to
Open Instagram and see everything.
and then be I want to do one of them. I want to do one of them. So how do you stay original and do your work?
Well, for example, I try to do some new shapes, and it's very difficult to create some new shapes. But I have, like I said, 3 books of gold of drawing. But sometimes I come back to a drawing from, like, for example, I have this is from an old sketchbook. So this piece, for example, it's like how the cavemen have the stone tools.
Yeah.
So this is a horizontal piece. I made that in walnut, but I have seen someone else made it 1 year later than me, and I have found in 2016 someone who created this in a different kind of wood. I did it in walnut, but and it's like that. For example, I have I have some traces from my mentor.
Yeah.
But I avoid 1 year total to not see his pieces online at all. Because he's so good, he's so amazing. And there is a lot of people taking influence from him. Sometimes with giving credit or not giving credit. But I avoid to see, and then 1 year, at one point in the year, like in May, I'll watch what he's make. Because too much, just one picture. I was watching Instagram, and there was one picture that was coming up, and there was a reflex directly, switch it off. Because
Just too much influence.
he's just too damn amazing. I had the chance to meet someone amazing like that, and he shared his knowledge with me, and he was so open to it. So, and that's how, if you are a student and you have this, and this was the student time, it's like an internship.
Yeah.
So when in the 2 years of sculpture, I had the first year internship, and I found him.
So you now actively, out of respect,
I have, and he,
you have to,
we
shut
are,
that off so you don't get too influenced by it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he knows that.
Yeah.
But also, I have the luck to also call him a good friend, because we sometimes, when I travel to France for a competition or a symposium, I go by the shop and say hi. I bring beer and chocolate, of course.
Yeah.
He's a sweet cake, so he can. He likes the sweets. So, but at the same time, he understands where I'm coming from, because he shared a lot. Like, for example, sandblasting.
Yeah.
I learned that from him, using that technique to create texture to capture the light. So that's all things I learned from him.
Yeah.
And I have taken my time to research and develop certain pieces to have this applied to, without too much being a copycat of someone else. Even if he respects how you do it, but the basic will always be you have a certain knowledge and some techniques you maybe develop or some already exist. If you can transfer this to the next generation, it will never. In the old days, they already know how to use a chisel or how to screw in. It's nothing changed by that, but how you use it that's personal.
Yeah.
So I do have pieces that are very personal, but there are with some pieces that are a trace from my mentor.
And then how do you tackle sharing your work? Are you very open? Are you happy to share your work with the world? Or is there always a little bit of, I don't want to share that because someone could copy it? What's your thoughts and feelings?
In this kind of world, everything is already there.
Yeah.
So I'm really much open to it, because I like always experience a lot. So that's the point I like to connect with other people, because they can offer also that same kind of different knowledge. So that create a bigger community, and searching for those limits of the material. What can we do with the material?
What's possible
Yeah.
from it?
I do have something very original, and that's with fired beechwood. Fired beechwood is it's like normal beechwood, like this workbench, or but the trees are left in the forest because they normally cut down. They say he's sick, he needs to be cut down. He cannot be used for proper wood because that's all sapwood.
Yep.
So it will rot. But the trees are left, and then for 1 year and a year and a half, 2 years, they taking over by mushrooms, and the tree always take the mushroom in, and it creates this distinct drawing into it. And
That's the stuff we looked at earlier.
Yeah. So, for example, if you, I have some few pieces I created, and you see the texture of the drawing.
Yeah.
It's all unique.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you can kind of
But
see.
you need to dry it. You need to dry it long. So you take the tree and you lose at the end phase. You lose around 80% of it.
Wow.
But if I never took the tree, the 100% was gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's your
So the
choice.
20, and then I developed a technique to dry it, and then to process it into a sculpture. But even with sculpturing, it has soft and hard side. So you need to have this because if you work the material, you have the soft side, you go more in, and you have a hard side, you stay up. So you have less is more. You have to make a fine curvature that needs to be perfect, because like my mentor said, if you make a sculpture that has a lot of going on and there's a misbump, you don't see that. That's easy, because you have a sculpture, we have one curve and there's a little bump.
You see that.
You see that.
Yeah.
Less is more. And he learned that from the phrase from the architecture I talked about, but he has this phrase all written over his shop.
Less is
Because
more.
he is very much going that way. Less is more.
So it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because like you think about, you look at like the big rooster in the background and the eye that you've got there, you know, they're big lumps, and you immediately think like that's big, burly, hard work, just chopping big lumps of
Pieces out of it.
Yeah. But and it's much the same as when we were speaking to Zoe yesterday. You know, it's stone she's working with. So you think about
I can't wait to see her pieces, because I love how
lovely.
she is on
It's-
Instagram. She's so lovely
The
to
real
talk
queen.
to.
She's so
I connected
nice.
with her when she moved in her new shop around the
Yeah.
trees she has in
Yeah.
the mid. I said that about the space like that. I think I would put our table around that.
oh, it's lovely, man.
Yeah,
It's so nice.
yeah. Maybe I come up there and help
You
her make a table. So,
Yeah, you should. She would love that. She's
yeah,
just
but
such a
I
nice
love her
person.
pieces, because also her pieces, I think I could have that integrated in mine. So, for example, the geometric parts of it, it reminds me of some German sculpture that also do this geometric sculpture into it, but on my own style of techniques as well. But I love her pieces.
Oh, she's
See,
fantastic.
I already had an idea what I want in the future. I have a spot for. I have when I will make my house. Have some place in a corner where the sun turns around. So, or if it is on the other side of the house where the desk is, it's a spot where the sun also influence always a piece. So this would be perfect for it, for example.
That would be your space.
That would be a space like for Zoe's a sphere with the geometric part of it. It would be perfect because light influence so much of a piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was talking about that yesterday.
The play of shadow.
Yeah, we're very similar, and we're trying to get our forever home. We've not quite found it yet, but we're adamant to find our forever home.
Same
Yeah.
here. I'm very
Yeah.
stubborn on it.
That's exactly.
Yeah,
it.
I've
It
been
needs to be
searching
right.
for 4 years, and
Yeah.
the prices are just mental.
Yeah, just
Even
going
though
up and up.
standing on being alone also.
Yeah,
So
and,
but
but that's
this is
one
not a
of the
dating
things.
app, so
That's one of the things, isn't it? It's just finding your space in the world and then just filling it with good stuff,
Can't wait.
especially stuff with stories.
I do think that will be also your space will also be because you're a maker also before.
Yeah.
So and yeah, you guys are still with
Well-
the Making Maker Humans, but I think you would also have a little studio space
Yeah,
also
we'd love
back
to.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you're your gent to have that, to give that.
That's it, to give that over, to build her a big workshop somewhere. I'd find more enjoyment in building the workshop than I would being in the workshop.
Call me,
Probably.
mate.
Yeah,
I'll bring
man.
the chainsaw.
You bring the chainsaw, the
Yeah.
plenty wood.
That'd be
Plenty
so much
of
fun.
wood. It would. We would just build it from scratch. So Zoe is another one where it's like, you think it's stone, you think big hits, big hammer blows, but it's not. It's all very, very careful.
And she needs to be watched out because she explains with the little fossil pieces are going inside. Sometimes she needs to adapt. A little more hard spots, like I told about in the wood, you need to adapt at the moment. It's not always cutting it straight on.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. That sounds very similar to what you're doing, where it's not this
creating these waves. It's this the simple curve.
Yeah.
And if you have that little bump, you see that immediately.
Yeah, the curve's ruined.
But if the people know it.
Yes.
But you can adapt a little bit more onto that. So
That's always my problem when I'm making something. I always can see like the problem.
Yeah.
It's like no one's gonna see that. I'm like, but I do. It's annoying me.
well, those people don't understand what perfection you're try to get this limit of human capacity, creating something that's you can. If you try for perfection, that doesn't exist. But those adventure to drive through there is already half the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when do you know when to put the tools down? When do you know when it's done? Because this is one thing I always find amazing with makers. It's like,
Because I'm the
some
same. I'm
people
like, I
just
just
can't
keep
put it
going and
down.
keep going, and then I'm like, oh no, I really need to stop.
And I think
fine.
the stuff that I've done in the past and work that I've done, and 9 times out of 10 I end up ruining it because I don't put this, like it would have been perfect 5 minutes ago, but I've just done that little bit more and went too far.
A question that will never be answered. No.
Yeah.
It's true. When you step back at a piece and say, it's okay, you can put the tools down, but there sometimes you have sculptures, then you go push more and finding that perfect curve, or you have, for example, you have a sculpture that's 3D all around 360 around scene, but a client can put that sculpture everywhere in every position, so you need to see every angle of it. Even if they put it heads around upside down, it needs to be perfect.
I know exactly.
Even underneath,
Yeah.
even your signature you put underneath, it needs to be perfect. So it's that drive of having that perfection. Also, it's a yin-yang situation of I need to continue or can I stop?
Yeah. And that's what always interests me specifically about 3D sculptures. And they're not a print. They're not a
They're
wall
never
hanging.
finished.
They're all, you can move them in any way, and every single. There was a great documentary on McLaren when they were when they were building the 720S, the supercar. And it was the design brief was there will be no B-class surfaces.
Okay.
Every surface needs to be A-class. Everything from exhaust bolts underneath
Which year
the
was
car.
that? Mainly. 70s, 80s?
No, 2016, 2018. It
Okay,
it
recent like that.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was modern. And that's what was so interesting about it. Is
Because in the 80s and the 80s and 70s, you have cars that have been made in full sheet metals, so not with the plastic parts or the fine aluminium.
Yeah.
Or you need to have those curves because the light takes already the seeing the dents and all that. So having that back to searching for that quality is very nice. Like for the shipyard also.
Yeah. And there's one of the makers that we found in Australia that just blew my mind.
Are you going there?
I'm trying to. I'm trying to work it out. So there is. Well, actually, there's 2. And one of them we're meeting on Monday.
Yeah.
So we're podcasting with Wilco in Wassam, and he's an aluminium sheet metalist who builds motorbikes.
Aluminium is very, very interesting to work with because if you heat that up, I do a lot of research. So medium, there's no limit of medium. I try to learn from it. Like I learned from Adam Savage how he makes his armor sheet from for the movie of allez, with the sword, Camelot and all that. But he
King
made
Arthur.
King Arthur,
Yep.
yeah. But the old movies from
Yep.
them, they made the aluminium armor,
Yep.
all aluminium, and there's a master aluminium bender who makes them, and he's heating it up. And Evan Savage went to his shop. And it was 7 episodes about how he makes his armor, heating that up, and I didn't know material like that can be.
Moved.
If you heat that up for so long, and you do a black marker on it,
Yep.
you heat it up, and the black marker is
Yeah.
you can bend it, and then if you heat it up again, it stays rigid in that shape. So you can create these amazing bends, and then so there's all that's
so
the
that's
veterans, the veterans of time that they go for the next generation on social media. You can share so much.
That's exactly it, and that's how I found Robert Simpson, who's New South Wales, Australia, and he makes, full-
Look at those lines.
you can't. That's just perfection. Like to me, and that's a
And see,
skill
there's
that's just dead.
there's bare metal there.
Bare metal. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, have edition 5, guys. Go to there.
There is nowhere to hide, and that thing with sculptures and with anything like physical and tangible that's in front of you, and certainly some of your like bigger sculptures, you would think in size you can hide mistakes, but actually when it's big, you can get right up close to it. Which is what I find amazing about like your work and like Zoe's work and some of the, and actually
Everyone's work.
everyone's work is just that sheer attention to detail that you can be right up against it, and it's just perfection on every surface.
You care about it, so you want it to be good.
Yeah.
Even like, for example, I had at the time I did an internship in Brussels in Saint-Contenaire. It's a plaster sculpture, a plaster atelier, a plaster studio where they cast original sculptures like the head of. There is a full David there in the shop.
Right.
So I had this plaster mold from the original copy of. There. For example, you have the David, the original one in marble, and there exist around 7 full standing Davids around the world.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes there are some rich folks who want to buy just the head. But sometimes we sell that to a copy from the eye, the left eye.
Right.
And I have the plaster model there. So the guys don't see it, but if
That's the big one.
That's the big one. And that I made on a symposium on a competition in a certain team. We go over there as soon as we get there. But at the time, you have, even if the head is so high up, already the detail has to be perfect. So for example, you have sculptures where they always, the old sculptures, they're always in cloth, never in feet, because they need to have all this weight up, so they always dressed, for example, to have but details of the cloth needs to be perfection, because they're very much closer to the people. But for example, you have a hand who's hanging 3 meters high. You see a hand, so it's over exaggerated exponentially to have the people see still the veins, details going through the arms.
So would that hand actually be bigger than it should be?
Yeah,
Right.
proportion.
Okay.
Like for example, but yeah, the David has a little bit of a high monumental scale. They very much got it to good perfection. But for example, the cheat with the eye, for example, the pupil, he has it made such a way when everywhere you walk, it follows you. Normally,
Right.
yeah. So
Like one of those creepy paintings in the old hotel.
like the Scream,
That's it.
but it's not The Shining. So
Yeah. Oh, man, I hate that film. Yeah,
never seen it.
Oh man, don't. So, what does your normal workflow look like? So, if someone's come to, is it mostly commissions or is it for competitions, symposiums? What does your normal workflow look like for a piece?
So most of the time, it's always start with drawing. So I have
Nice notebook.
certain drawings, such as sculptures, but there always are some point someone says, "I like that piece, but it's too big, or it's too small, or I have a wall." So that's the great part of it. You can adapt
Yeah.
towards it, And that gives a great opportunity to integrate the client also in their piece personal, because it's not from they just give you money to buy a piece like that. They want to buy a piece that I made. It's not
They buy a piece
it's
of
not
you.
the number.
Yeah.
It's they like a piece I made, and for certain people I know they have bought my very first pieces, and they're always in contact or coming to see my live shows I do. So it's a little bit like that. If I have someone who said, okay, I have seen this piece, but it's not available anymore, I make these cardboard molds of it, so the proportions are right, so I can cut it up, put it on the wood, give the direction of the grain I want.
Yep.
And then at that point, I put it on the bandsaw, cut it off, and finding those right curves to have it created like it was original. Because I have a notebook of everything I did. Every piece is registered. Every piece has a certification. So already from the beginning, I understand it was needed to be done.
Right.
To have this collection of protecting pieces.
Yeah.
For example, I did the last two pieces I did was it starts from someone liking someone, take it at their likings, but also it needs to be my style. Is it from a drawing, or if I make something new, then I say, okay, I have that piece of wood, I have that reserved on my whiteboard, has some certain pieces I want to make. But sometimes I find a piece of wood and say, that would be nice to do it like that, and it would immediately do the drawing on it, because
Drawing straight onto the wood.
straight on the wood. Or sometimes you work on a piece and there is a bad piece inside it, so you work around it or you use it. Even there is a flow. It has been nature intent into wood to have that at that place. You use it or you don't use it. It's up to yours. But you didn't have an influence from the beginning, so how can you have an influence now? So sometimes you have that to be integrated. Like, for example, I did a great sculpture for some friends, and it was very mainly shaped like this, but it has a notch into it in the middle that goes through on the back. But it worked so perfectly because part of it was sandblasted, and so this texture it created was very interesting to work with. So that's the play of it. You play with the material.
Yeah.
But if you have someone who says, okay, I want that piece, that measurement, I can make it. Or maybe making for a company. Like the last two pieces I made was a company in France, was based in France and South Korea. And that was a tech company.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, and they have their company for Korea coming to France, and this was for a relationship gift. And they wanted one sculpture to give them. And I said, why not two? Have a connection between the story, between you guys, to have, for example, we have two sculptures who are identical in shape and identical in volume, but have each a different texture, same finish, same white finish, but the top part, you can put them off and you can switch them.
Ah, nice.
So you give the head to the other, you switch the head, but the texture from that side, what the Korea one was with straight lines, and the French one was with organic lines to it. So with organic lines, it's much more from the mountains and all the wood, because the wood was from the region there. I had some good stock, so it was a little bit emotional part of it. But the Korean, the location was in Shanghai. I think Shanghai, is it? Solen. It was a main. Yeah, sorry, I'm bad with names, but it was a main capital of South Korea, and
Seoul, is it?
Seoul, yeah. And with Seoul, they have the company was very central, so I had the straight lines from the road. But with the connection seam of the two pieces, but one fits on the other perfectly. And that's difficult to do, searching for that limit, because they can see the flow if they switch it around. But the texture from the straight lines come to the organic lines.
And they all lines up.
They all lines up. And that's even with their differences, they still connected. And so the head from France came back with the base from South Korea back to South Korea.
Nice.
And the head from South Korea stayed with France. And even underneath the piece of the head, I was written Seoul and the one in France, the village in France. So
amazing.
that's sometimes you have these companies, they want something and you always want to give more.
Yeah.
How did they get in touch? Like, how did that relationship come?
That was a great part. It was Ben and Manu.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
You know, those guys, they are so much busy with work and evolving and their creative part of it. They didn't have the time, but they knew it could be possibly done by me and the company. The one who was in contact with me, she loved my pieces. For example, she loved the piece I made in that kind of texture.
Yeah.
The last tree, it was a triplet, like 3 sails, and it was texturized with sandblast and white. And I proposed this to do it with that shape and that emotion of switching it on the ceremony. So there was also a deadline.
Nice.
And even with, for example, I went more. I made a box for it where they perfectly fit into it for travel. Right. Because South Korean, they have a certain details and are very important. Like, for example, a business card. Mm-hmm. A business card you never give. Is it South Korea? Is it Japan? Is it China? You never give one-handed. You always give it with two-handed, like this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you never have a one hand that wants to take.
Right,
Always have a respect of giving. What they do, they take that card also with two hands, and they put it first away, and then they give theirs.
Right. Okay.
So, and that I learned from Pascal Audet, who is a French wood turner. He's just done so amazing work. He's the only wood turner who makes wooden oak disc from 2 millimeter thick, or vases or lampshades, and then sandblast it. And in wood we have the summer and the wintering, and the wintering is much harder than the summering, and he sandblasts through the wood, so it's like broadery. Mm-hmm. Broadery of wood. And you the light goes through.
Yeah.
But he learned me how to work with prizes with gallery, interior architects, or just with clients, because those 3 prizes need to be at the same end phase, because sometimes you can have 2 different clients with the same piece and say, I paid more, but he bought in a gallery and he bought directly from me. So I want to have the honest price to it also. That's also, you need to consider that.
It's tricky, you know?
It's a tricky business. Mm-hmm. But you have, at this one time, you want the piece to be perfect. But at the time, it has to be financial also correct. So it's...
And how do you tackle that?
So certain pieces I already made have given me the experience. But if you start a new piece, that's a little bit different. So you're always in a guessing point. But if you have done it enough, you can
just better guess.
Yeah, you better guess. But I don't count in hours. I count, say, okay, I will have that period of time free to do it. So I know I will need at least 3 days to sculpt the wood, a day to finish it, and a day to have all the small details done, paperwork, transport, and all that. So you need to have a bigger division that cannot hurt you, but at the same time be in a good balance towards the client to have their piece, because they are willing to have investing their money into a piece of yours.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's not about the money, but you need to be real. We need it all to invest into the next piece, because once someone's bought a piece, that money can go into wood for the next piece, where I can develop more sculpture and more way.
Yeah, you're investing the money into your business.
For example, if you can start as a little maker, you're already investing some of your own. You being your own bank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pay interest to yourself, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I learned from my father a lot of playing your own bank to do it. But you also need to be open reality. You need to pay yourself back.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just keep feeding it.
No. You cannot feed it, or you're filling a bottomless pit
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, and it can become that. So, when one of the things I noticed in here, I want to go back to rough it out in the process, but all these bits of wood, it doesn't feel like they're going to come up at the right time. So are you just buying them as and when they come up and just holding them, and then a project comes up for them, or how's that all working for you?
How do you source?
Because obviously when
How I source my material.
well, when you're doing the project, you need to make sure there's enough money left in the bank to pay bills, obviously. But it feels like you also need to make sure there's enough money that if the
you can
perfect
invest
piece,
in
yeah,
a
if
new
the perfect piece of wood comes up, or the perfect deal on the table comes up, something like that, you can just jump on it. So
Yeah.
what does that look like for wood? Because it's certainly back home, you like average wood's 10 a penny, but getting that right bit for doing something like a sculpture, I could imagine is quite difficult.
There is a certain quality of wood you try to find, and that's having the right connection of suppliers. That, for example, I have a very good supplier who can arrange me a lot. So, for example, having a full tree is not used to, because you don't have a lot of sculptors here doing a full tree on. Like, for example, in a couple of weeks, there will be a sequoia tree of 3 meter high and 1.2 meter in diameter. I need to make a sculpture out of it for an event company.
Right.
So that needs to be done also. But I needed a cedar sequoia because it's light, but it can stand outside.
Yeah.
So you also need to choose how the position of the sculpture is. It's like, for example, you make a sculpture for interior. It needs to be stable. It needs to be dry. So you already need the wood to be in the shop for a certain time. Right. Having that investment planned of buying, for example, wood in advance because the prices are better, or you're gonna buy it because you need to make the sculptures. So it's a very much, it stays always a little bit of a guessing game, but at the same time you need to see, I need that. But for example, I have a company who I made this amazing company who is making pallets.
Okay.
So pallets in Belgium, and they're very much working around the world. But I developed with one of the person that works there. And it's very much there for the people who works, and for anniversary, or for how many times they work there, or for and I created these wooden sculpture trophies as a walnut base, a mini pallet, and then. With the beechwood, the fired beechwood has this specific drawing in it. And when I turn that into a globe, it's like a world globe, because it every time in other different. So you have the world map onto the globe. So he really likes that. And so I've been making them now for the past 2 years, still in series.
And they're the little globes you showed us there on the very back there. Behind
They're there. But for example, for him, you have a certain confidence, say they want that amount. So I buy, for example, around 60 meters of beams from 12 to 12 of wood, and keep it in stock. And when they say, okay, we have certain quantity needed, like for example 20 or 40 in that period of time, I make them in quantity, so I can offer also a good honest price. It's important.
Yeah, it is.
Even with all the price fluctuations happening and all that, but that stock is now gone. So what's happening now is I have to look for new stock and say, okay, and you need to have also still having a good price, an honest price towards them. And he understands that also, because it needs to be a great quality for me, to have the spheres fairly good with the pallets and all that, so the constant change, but it also may not hurt their pockets. It needs to be an honest price, and that's very important. We can go back and forward.
Yeah.
Having that quality, because he likes have it precise, and I understand it's quite an investment to give certain trophies like as a gift towards the personnel that works there for 10-15 years. They're investing 10-15 years in their life into the company, and that's showing a creative heart into the company, what they mean of value of having personnel. But that's, for example, it's researching having your wood. And so, for example, I will buying a lot more wood because I know in the future they will having more. So that's investment in wood. But so sometimes I had, I think 3 years ago, I had a good client of mine who has a big chimney, and he wanted a sculpture that I made, and he liked the texture, but he wanted big. So it was 3 meter long and 1 meter wide. And it was like, Obelix, who Asterix and Obelix. Obelix, he has his million behind his head, so the big stone.
Yep.
So a little bit of that shape, but it was very rounded shaped. And then with the point of my chainsaw, I did the texturing in a certain way, and then I burned the piece. So he liked very much a burnt texture towards it, but it went through the whole way with the chainsaw, so it has a light feeling of it, but still a burnt finish to it. But with burnt finish, you have the black hands. So I have been developing at the same time a product that doesn't influence that. So that's a knowledge I keep for me, but at the same time, I give at certain people also say, do this, have this for that, so it's half finished. Because sometimes I have a lady that's full white on interior, and she had this burnt piece she wanted, and she was afraid to touch it. And I said, "Can I have your white jacket, please?" She was afraid. But no, she understands that it was. She came by the shop, and I said, "Yeah, no." And with the white cloth, I showed it was a product, so very much she liked it.
Okay.
Because
so at the same time, you have practical. You have a big piece like that. You need to buy the wood for it. And with my wood supply, sometimes you need to buy a full on slab that's 6 meters long. So I still have a 3 meter slab over, but I already have in mind the little book of gold. I said, I know there can be other pieces be made of. But still, you count for the clients just that part of wood. You still have, but at the same time, I know I can use it because it's having an honest. You need to buy the full plank, but you need to have also an honest price towards them.
So that you can then reuse that in the future.
I didn't make at all a loss, but it's also I know this piece of wood because it's a great quality. At the time, it's a good investment because the woods there may be left over. There is some over, I think, upstairs, and I know with the price coming up, that piece of wood is now double value. For example.
So you can pass that good price on to the next customer because you know what it costs.
And it's not it's now double price. No, it's what I got, and it's for me. You need to increase it a little bit because electrician got high. You have the bills to pay, so you have to recalculate your stock every year. We need to have the stock counted what I have for wood, and sometimes help.
At least you have the space to store it in your workshop. That's great. It's a great space, isn't it?
But it's good. You need to have some vertical space to store it. But so for the viewers, they see sometimes on Instagram how it happens here. But you have a trapezium shape. So we have the wood turning back there. There is a sanding bandsaw there. The table saw is in the middle. I have the sandblasting cabinet that came in 3 months ago. But at the left side, we have the bandsaw to roughing cutting, and then the wood stock pile on top. So, but at the other side, I have just my chair to draw in. So that's also important to have your coffee machine there.
It's the most important tool.
Not too far away. The black gold.
Exactly. So, obviously, with smaller pieces, you're roughing out on the bandsaw.
Even pieces like this size, but it's thick. If I need to cut it, I will use the bandsaw to it. It's no use to using a chainsaw on that.
No, but the bigger pieces are all roughed out chainsaw,
What I do with big slabs, I cut them up with the chainsaw or with the circular saw. But they're very much being and then I can rough out like a big block like that, and I do my drawings on it or put on a cardboard mold. Like for example, behind you, you have 2 pieces. Left one is from the pieces from South Korea, and to the right you have another piece that's behind the silhouette. Is another piece that I made 2 years ago, but it's still popular. So
they're not dissimilar from like dress patterns or clothes patterns, are they? You're just taking that that same outline, keeping a hold of it, and that's your record.
My grandfather from my dad's side, so he was making patterns for clothes.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's he was.
What is it? It is a pattern maker, isn't it?
But he making pattern making, but he also making clothes, sewing, and very much. He was very
Tailor.
much tailor. Yeah. So he was like master tailor, and very much in detail, or even making the showcase pieces or the interior to show the clients.
Yeah.
So, and was also he very passionate. So my grandparents from the village here, they're selling clothes, selling fabric, and also making clothes, and already thinking of the material for the next edition.
Yeah.
So fashion has always also been their company. So my father, for example, he learned a lot from financially, because my father always have been working when he was little. So he has done very different job. Even he was a little, he went around with the soup or with the milk, or for example, I always remember and telling me about that. He wanted something like learning to ride a horse. He went to there where they give a lesson, and he don't have a penny to do that. And I say, okay, you can work 8 hours and you have 1 hour lesson the next day. At one time, he's there with the horse in front of the shop, in front of my grandparents. Yeah. So, what's happening?
Yeah.
So that's value of lesson is if you want something, you have to work for it. For example, I done a sculpture, a work making some furniture, and that paid for the bandsaw, for example. So at the same time, you're making.
It's quite easy to motivate yourself, isn't it? When you say like, this job pays for that, this job pays for that. You know, we
like for example, if I did an ice sculpture for an event, and I know I can have a little bit of better equipment. I know I don't make money on it, but the money that's made on it is invested in the material to have given a better quality towards the client.
That's exactly.
So that's a little bit of investment, but at the same time, if you can give that good quality at the moment of time, the next edition you will make. The next event you will make the money on it.
Yeah.
So
there's
always a return, but you're not going negative.
Yeah. So you've roughed it all out. You've got your and then is it chainsaw time after that? Because you've got a plethora of different blades, different blade lengths, different blade styles, micro chainsaws.
Yeah, I know. The micro chainsaw is another story. So wait a minute. Sorry, folks, for the sound. So we have certain way how I work. So first of all, is sound louder?
Yeah,
it's good. So we have the pattern, we have the design, we have the wood all roughened out with the bandsaw, and then I can use the chainsaw to cut it more up. That's what's not possible to do on the bandsaw. But after that, I have a sculptural disc. To shape the piece of wood. So for anyone
that's listening, we're talking about a 4 or 5 inch angle grinder disc.
Yeah, there's an angle there. What I have here, so first of all, you all saw the table going up and so
keeps your back.
That's my back.
Yeah.
But for example, I have this bench vise, and it can very much hold any shape in any angle.
Yep.
So that's the good part of it, because if you do this,
getting a live tutorial.
Yeah. Welcome to Maximus. This is lesson 1. So you have this angle, you can put the piece on it, and you can work on it here. So it's a very good vise.
So I've seen quite a lot of bench vices.
This vise,
that's where did you find that bench vice? Because you've got. So for anyone listening,
so for the makers, you have this bench vise. It's for musician, violins maker.
Ah, okay.
So that I saw on Dictum in German side, Dictum DECTUM. Yeah, you guys can sponsor these guys. So. But for the maker community, this is another piece of knowledge. To have this kind of workbench, it doesn't hurt the piece. So for a violin maker, this is used. Right. But for me, for sculpture, it's interesting to do. But this I saw also from the same website. My mentor is using it, and I knew when I made this workbench with the scissor lift, I knew I wanted this
Yeah.
way. And I even put it on an angle on the end, so I'm more comfortable to work in. If
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
put it straight, I'm more on an angle, so I can get a little bit closer.
Yep.
Because sometimes I can have a piece not like this, but more on the table, benched. So it has been for form and function also.
Yeah.
So I already had this idea of bench 3 years ago with drawing, and if I had the right scissor lift, I bought off an auction.
Yep.
So the right moment of time, you buy the scissor lift, you buy and make the table, and I could use the workshop for my old boss to make this table. So
Such a
having
big
this,
table, it's great.
yeah. So this can be turned in every angle, shape, or going. So even if you put a piece like here, you can work on it.
Yeah, so that is an
That's-
extra set of hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Up, you can put something that's in an angle triangle, or like this. So you can put very large wedge. So
Yeah.
for this very much, it's a tutorial, but at the same thing, it's very interesting for other makers, because I
Very.
showed this on Instagram, and there are already 20 messages telling where did you got that, or how to use it. So I had, for example, I know, I don't catch his name now, but he bought that one, and I told him, look at this one. It can be, because he made a lot of turned sculptures, so faces or animal that are just turned on the lathe,
Yeah.
and certain effects he just finished with the Dremel, and he mentioned in that. But at certain pieces they're very angled, because this one you can put on an angle also.
Well, that's it.
But
isn't it? 'Cause-
that's the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
that
Most
is.
Yeah.
most faces will only come two parallel faces against each
Yeah,
other,
look,
but
look,
you've
look,
got the
like this.
ability.
So
And
this
then
is now flat with the surface. I even integrate it. Sometimes they don't do that, because this is also integrated, so it's flat. But also if you have the other size. Sorry for the mic. So this,
okay. So you got a small chalk as well.
I got a small chocolate as well, because you have sometimes I have a sculpture that has a hole inside it, so I can put it through the hole and have it benched, and so the rest is outside or inside.
So you can back clamp it the opposite way as if
You know
were
how
on a
far
lathe,
it goes?
Yeah.
Goes like this.
Oh, really?
So
What have you? Yeah, you got a massive lead screw. The whole.
yeah, it's a massive lead go. So this gives a very opportunity. You can have certain smaller pieces, even with the face on between. Because I make smaller pieces for that has been certain volume. So you have 5 pieces next to each other. Has smaller one, but also I make bigger pieces. That's a one at 120 to 180 can make,
Yeah.
but still I can press it here in the bench and it doesn't bend.
Yeah. And
So-
how important do you think that is for makers to? Because there's going to be a lot of people listening and a lot of people that will watch your content and consume it.
That's
All
that's a
these
good
things-
part of consuming this podcast, because you see certain knowledge and certain
Yeah.
way they work or what equipment they use. This is gold for certain. It's quite an investment, but it helps the workflow
Yeah.
like hell.
So would you agree that that investment in the right, like spending the time investment looking for something as simple as the right vice and spending the money on the best vice or the real Rolls Royce of vice, that's helped you tremendously, yeah?
It can help, but first you always start with normal vice.
Yeah. Start with what you can get your hands on.
Start with what you can get your hands on. Start with what you can do, and if you can sell a piece and invest to the next piece. If you know, for example, you have a job and you make, for example, 20 wooden spoons, and you made them first with an edge or with a spoon chisel
Yep.
on a piece of wood between your legs. But those 20 spoons, they pay maybe for the next vice that can help you have more safer and comfortable. So, for example, I work with a spoon knife that has 2 handles. Instead of one handle tensioning the spoon,
Yep.
you have a more certain confidence and achievement of work. Like, for example, the spheres I make for the company, I made first a chuck for it to hold the sphere. I know I have invested into a chuck to hold the sphere. So it's a little bit at that investment to making the spheres. And so it's like, if you do production, things you need to have creating and always reinventing your workflow.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like it's ever And I am always interested in this because I think a lot of people hold themselves back because they think I've not got the right tool for that. I've not got the right tool for
or
that.
not have the money for it, or having the confidence. I don't know if this will pay for the piece, or I will not make money of it. But very much the tool you investment is the money you make on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we always respend, don't we? Like everyone does it.
and you always have to think a bit of you make no money of it, but if you invest in a better quality, if you can. So for example, I started with this one. It's very good, but I also had the workbench that didn't went up and down. So already when I make the workbench, it was just the piece that was on clamped here with just a normal gripping vise.
Yeah.
And then I had that one, and so I cut one of the legs shorter to have the bench a little bit lower.
Right.
So I can use that one. And now I got the Rolls Royce.
Yeah. You've got it all sorted now.
Yeah, and if everybody comes, I can put it up like bar height. So nobody is. I support everybody. So you can put 40 people on here. So it can lift 1.5 ton.
There you are. So you could have a proper night out.
Yeah, I even the eye of David I made in full scale. That one weighed around 600-700 kilo. So I put it even on here to have it on a good height to work.
Yeah, and that must really transform your workflow.
If you can invest in it, like for example, I know if I have the extra money, that will never happen. But if I can evolve or invest something, like for example, I have the bandsaw, but I would like to have a combined planer, for example, for flattening and things, because I never think nothing is planed here. So you don't have two perfect surfaces. So for example, this I made in the shop of my old boss, or with my boss, I'm very good with it. I can certainly have made some stuff, but not for stuff that are directly towards my clients, because that wouldn't be right. Using his tools, But at the same time, I know if I want to have a new scissor lift, I know already which one I'm gonna buy. But at the scissor lift, I saw at my mentor's place, the vise I saw at that one I saw at my mentor's place. I say, what the hell?
Yeah, he's worked it out over years and years.
Yeah, but that's true. With all honor to it, but at the same time, you learn from other guys, from the veterans, and from young guys who ask, where did you get that? I know that's not knowledge to keep for me.
Yeah.
You have to pass that on.
Yeah.
And what do you have many like maker spaces around here? So something that's popping up more in the UK is like communal workshops where people can come and work from. Do you have much of that over here? What do you think about them?
Well, we have Handmade in Bruges. So there's a good maker community there around Bruges, but I really don't have the time to get involved in that because I'm so busy with all the stuff. But but my glassblower is there because he's from Bruges, and there's some a young girl now, a young woman. She's very good in making pieces with glass, unique pieces, and she's now. Every year there's some kind of competition. I don't see it as a competition because at the same time they share your work and they have judges, and she's in the finals now. So soon you'll know. I think she will win because she's very passionate about what she does. But she already learned from my glass blowing mentor. So that's a little bit. You have this community that does it, but you have certain expos like. Gentleman Against art fair or exposition there, and there's a lot of designers that coming by or craftsmanship. But for example, Ghent is another village here in Belgium, and Ghent is very much, they have a lot of more makers do furniture making, glassblower. I have a good friend of mine, Alexander Louis, and he was an old school student from my old school.
Nice.
And I was working in 5th grade on a furniture with inlay. So I pressed, and then he came by the shop to ask something to the doctor. But I already connected with him, like just talking with him. And he said, "Toi, tu parles français?" Un petit peu. We already talked in Dutch, and I said, "Yeah," and he was. Fantastic guy to share with, but he created this community space where you have different kind of makers, so access to different kind of skills.
Yeah.
And that's for metal, bronze, glass, resin, marble, fabric, painting, digital development, 3D printing. List goes on. At that point, he has that, and he has his own space. But also, he is part of a bigger community that's also in Ghent based, and there's a big paper. I think it's paper fabric. Fabric. No, but not fabric, but factory.
Yeah.
Old paper factory, and the owner of that, he bought the building, and he created some spaces for everyone to rent, to have their space of making. But they do a lot of exposition, expos, events, and all that, and it's amazing because there are a lot of makers that can make it because they create this big community. Okay, I have that table to make, but I don't want to fully have it in wood. So for example, we can have maybe the legs in metal, or maybe have the legs in glass. Hey, there's no limit.
Yeah, because there's so many other people that can feed off.
Why search a limit if you can set one yourself?
Yeah, quite right. So we've talked loads about your wood so far, but that's not the only thing you work in, is it? You do a lot of other work. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, it's all... so if we go back to the teaching and the seventh... in the 2 years of sculpting, learning from my teacher, in the first year we learn every material to work in. So first year you have worked with plaster, clay, modeling, wood, marble, stone, bronze casting, metal soldering. So learn every stuff. So after that year, you can be free. You can do everything. But at seventh, the fun is the teacher said, if he likes you and he wants you to develop more, he asked, so you want to do a second year? That's an honor.
Yeah.
He's like Robbie Williams in the Dead Poets Society. Oh, captain, my captain. And he's really much like that because he's there behind the students against the system because there's a difference. Very much he's there for all the students. He's a legend.
Yeah.
So, oh, captain, my captain. So we call always, he's a captain.
Yeah.
So I always knew him. But to the point is, he said, you want to, you got it. But you take a die, you roll. And I said, okay, you failed for technical drawing. So you redo your year, but in another space in the studio there. And you're developing more specific, like you want to do more marble sculpting. So that year you specialized in the direction of marble sculpting. So more mold making, marble sculpture, or developing wood. So wood sculpture, like a full face. I did a full scale face of a sleeping sculpture that is in Italy, was we found in 1960 in the river, in the water. What do you say? It's in the canal.
Oh, okay.
So that reappeared.
Right.
So but that face was so beautiful to make, and so that was classic sculpture. I have learned from classic sculpture, but going in direction of classic techniques, but going in direction of contemporary. But at that 7th year, they offer the teacher of direct carving. So direct carving is you tap in the wood, you got one chance, there's no way back.
Yeah.
So that's also important. If you make a piece, you need to be sure to make it. You got one chance.
Yeah.
You can reglue it, but then
it's not right.
It's not the perfection you're looking for.
Yes.
Nobody will see it. But at that point, he said, we have a competition in France, Valois. It's a symposium for snow sculpting. So you go with 4 students all together and you develop a project. But I done some research on that and I saw there's also ice sculpting. And that's alone. I'm a little bit of a lone wolf that likes to learn first before having someone involved in a team, because I am a team player. But first I prefer to learn about it so I can provide for the team then and ensure something that's good.
Yeah.
And at that point, he said, there is. So he gave me the papers for the ice. and that was ice sculpting. And I never done the ice sculpting. I learned from YouTube from the ice sculpting. That's how the maker
The school
community
of
go.
YouTube. Yeah, the school of YouTube. How
Yes.
many universities will not have any more tuition because YouTube's a thing?
Yeah, it's free access to education. It's like I saw this documentary last week, and it was 2 weeks ago, and it was someone who graduated from Harvard because all the lessons were online. He was never present on the lessons.
So I've got the MIT mechanical engineering course. It's all there. It's all there for the taking, and that's with MIT. I could never get into MIT.
At the same time, if someone asks what's the 37th president of America, at school they teach it, but we will never know it. We Google directly, and we have this correct recent knowledge towards it. But if you want to, like, for example, ice sculpting, I went looking at the YouTube video. Okay, I see they using aluminium plaques with an iron on it, and that's used to glue certain ice blocks together. So I have a perfect surface. And then, for example, they use just electric chainsaw without oil because it will smudge the ice, so it doesn't glue it together. I have
Hot tips.
But yeah, I'm about sharing. I have a lot of faith helping the next generations already to have the opportunity to do this. But for example, I learned all that from YouTube, and then I make the project and I was accepted. But I specifically write to them that I'm not a professional. I've never done the ice, but I've done the research. So I developed a little file of how I would build. I made the bull, a bull, full bull, and we received 5 blocks of ice who are 1 meter by 50 by 25 thick, and each weighing 125 kilos a piece. So, but we have military guys local there to help us lift, but all the sculptures also help us lift.
Yeah.
So I know how to glue them together because I saw that on YouTube, how to use the maximum of material. But that's the community there. So a symposium, you have a gathering of artists, of makers, and in the certain field, and they share the knowledge like hell. It's like you have an endless tap at the bar. You share it.
That's wicked.
But I did my first symposium there. It was 2016, and you learn from others. And I was finished in points. I finished 8 between 20.
Wow.
Good.
So for
someone
another,
that's
they say what? So that's the good part of it, being even the underdog. But they were so willing to share about what you can do with the ice, and then at that moment I was hooked. And I met Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, she is an ice and snow sculptor in the Ice Hotel in Norway, Sweden. So and I liked how she is. She's a lot of music, dancing when she's sculpting, but she's just a sweet legend. And I talked about the Ice Hotel, and I done that evening, the first evening we talked, and then Sir Richard, the Ice Hotel, whoa, and it was amazing. And then I sent, I think 3 weeks after my first symposium, I sent an application file of 4 pages with drawings and all sketches not into the proper forms of the regulation to the Ice Hotel. I was so ashamed of going now thinking about that back. But I got a response. I was not accepted or I expected.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so giving me so much energy to still, and I have still the dream to go. Yeah, because that's for a nice snow sculpture. That's Mount Everest.
That's the grand
prize. That's a grand prize.
Yeah.
That's very much confirmation. Even as it is a commercial, the Ice Hotel is very commercial. You make a room out of snow and ice in a certain team, and they rent rooms where you can sleep there in 2 hours.
It's such an experience, I can imagine.
It's such an experience. I know 2 girls, the Steel Sisters. So the Steel Sisters are, one, Sarah Steele, she is a musician. So working with music and all that, and also a model. and then we have Emily Steele, and she would be very interesting for your edition 7, for example. It's a lucky number.
Yeah.
But to the point, she makes this amazing doll figures in certain shapes and ways. But she has a very interesting style towards it, how she manipulates creating these sculptures. And she has a very interesting background, but she has an interesting artistic background, and she has done the Ice Hotel 4 times and 3 times already, and 2 times with her sister. And they're leaving, if you see this podcast now, from this date, they're leaving the 30th November now to the Ice Hotel to creating their room.
That's so cool.
But knowing them, they also...
And are they doing it as a team? 2 of them?
Yeah,
as a team?
together.
Nice.
So they're very into it, to the ice.
Yeah.
But we were last week on travel for a show, and I showed the file because I made a new file for this edition. So we're 2016, we're now 2022, and I sent the file over, and it was 13th of the 12 selected.
Just missed out. So next year.
I not missed out at all, because the point is, it's such a confirmation to have been put in a space between the 12th and the 3rd.
Yeah.
It's a confirmation of where you come from
and where you
and
go.
you're
That's a
going.
great way to look at it.
And this is very interesting because Sarah and Emily Steele, they both saw my file and they said, yeah, you need to change that, having that. And they explained a bit how it's going into the Ice Hotel. But they said this is a perfect file. And same thing for example, Luca. Luca is one of the organizations from the Ice Hotel. And this has me so touched that he have given me some great feedback towards me.
Nice.
Because sometimes you have organizations that, yeah, you're not accepted
Don't
without
give
an
you
explanation.
anything. Yeah.
Or you've been put in reserve,
Yeah.
but without explanation. Because if you're put in reserve, you cannot buy the plane tickets in front, and you have to spend the budget. And last minute, no, that's not. Being in reserve is not an option of respect. You go or you're not going.
Yeah.
But Luca already has response, and I asked for him. So, what needs to be changed, or is this in the lines of what you guys expecting? And he said, no, it's just perfect, and you understand what we're searching for all the points. That's good. But then I talked with Sarah and Emily at the airport yesterday, because we just done a shooting for a snow sculpting show. And we talked about that airplane, showing my files, and he said, yeah, just change that a little bit, but my story was right, my viewpoint of the visitor was right, my design was right, but it's just the scale or something like that I need to change and adapt a little bit. But I know if I adapt that, and already I have 3 other ideas for some rooms, so for next winter I have 4 fires going there.
Yeah.
And that's also the good balance. For example, if I do the Ice Hotel, that's 2.5 week working, freezing cold in -20 with 1 hour of sunlight, because you're up there north.
Yeah.
But good food,
Good food.
and great people, also makers community and all, very warm hearted. If it wasn't we were so warm, melted the Ice Hotel already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I don't do the ice and snow sculpting in January. That's in France. I go.
Right.
So where I learned the first time ice sculpting.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I know towards my boss, I can say, okay, I will do those 2 weeks, work that for him. It's okay. But I know I'm not gonna go do it in January, just because, yeah, you don't want to explode that. Misuse, exploit that.
You don't want to take it for granted.
Yeah. Take it for granted, because even if you have a great boss, we're always worked 2 ways.
Yeah.
He's now I think 30, 31, so he's just 2 years older than me, but he has a company that strives to perfection towards his clients, and he very much I work there 5 days in a week working on the millimeter, but in the evening and then in the weekends I work here by the chainsaw.
Yeah. So
I'm double creative, because I'm so concentrated in work the moment I go creative, I'm twice as creative.
Yeah. Yeah, because it gives you, and do you find that gives you the sort of open creative field to just do what you want, to just be a bit more
Well, you have this
curves, not straight lines.
Making a living off as an artist. You need to have a certain basic needs, of course.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for a home that I can still renovate and build, but I know I will not. I will not be for the 10 years coming. I like my job because it has been since I was, for certain, I can say with confirmation with 17 from my 17 years old. I always every day have been touching wood. Yeah. Except if I'm in the mountains with ice, it's a little bit. If you go off the slopes, you end up in a tree. Okay, I checked off that day. But wood has always been the passion. So having this good relationship with working 5 days in a week, making great windows, and it's even as it is, and making windows, you see the certain woods. You need the curvature of the woods. Like for example, you have just a simple window. Yep. And we put the wood like this. There's a certain tension like this, but I already put it in front of it because if we put the glass in it, we push it out, so it's perfectly straight. Nice. For my walls, the millimeter is a millimeter, and even a half because we got this calipers, digital caliper.
Verniers.
Is 68 millimeter stick is 68 millimeter stick, not a tenth more or a tenth less. So it's very much precision job. But you gain that quality, and even if I being creative here, it's also been important for me have this perfect curve without a dent in it.
Yeah, it's good to have your day job as something you still love. You know, some people don't.
Yeah, and to give a security.
Yeah.
Even if you have small makers who are doing something very much different, it still gives them some security to invest in their passion, knowing. If I still continue to work for it, you know you will get there at the point that you're going to make the switch.
Yeah. So how do you market yourself to hopefully one day allow you to make that switch? What is it, all on Instagram, or what's the marketing strategy?
No, I'm aiming a little bit more towards public sculpture. Yeah. So making those bigger budget sculptures. Yep. That would be very interesting to do because it's also development. I know how to bronze cast. I know how to have the right connection for the metal work. Like for example, I would like to make a sculpture that's very high and but with a bronze piece on top of it. And even if the piece is high up there, like for example 5 meter high, that piece of bronze needs to be perfect on eye level because we're gonna rise it up with the public. With the public on top of it, but it still needs to be seen with the right sun. But if the sun fully go on it needs to be perfect. Yeah. So even with with David's sculptures, he needs to be perfect on top of it because at the time then they didn't have selfie sticks to go closer. But now we have digital cameras going very close into the details. You can see, for example, for David's left ear. There's a very small hair that goes around. You don't notice it when you're in front of the sculpture, but if you zoom in, you see there's a little grain, a little line of hair going there. And that I saw on the plaster in Brussels. Yeah. So I said, if you don't see that, how do you gonna see that? So you're intent on making sure that every single surface is absolutely perfect. It's like I said before, it's if the client puts a sculpture upside down, you need to make sure your signature is right. Yeah, quite. So the bit on you go.
No, I was just gonna say, how do you make these relationships with like the public places? You know, do you just get in touch yourself? Do you like phone them, or do you visit, or do they come to you?
Well, sometimes they come to me, but when I had I worked an internship with my mentor. He's on an exposition Maison et Objets in Paris. And there was a big exposition space with over 1,000 craftsmanship and all that. And so he said, come by, I have the tickets, you can come in. So I visit him once a year there. But with COVID, it has been a little bit down. But at the time, I think 2000, 18, 19, and 20, I have visited them on this. But at the same time, you meet other makers. So I know, for example, Joao, who's a Portuguese wood turner. He has a certain product that you blacken the wood perfectly. So sometimes I need to burn the pieces, but sometimes it doesn't need the texture of burn. So blacken the pieces. So you meet other people, being social myself, connecting to where, hey, I can speak to someone who works, who does a respectful job as working, picking up garbage, but I also have talked with royal already, or with celebrities. So I can you just need to be human, and you can have a connection with everybody.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the important thing, isn't it? It's just everybody's a human that stands on their own two legs, just like you.
But you know, the maker community, the makers are already automatically not being on the high horse. They know where they've been through.
Yeah.
They know where they're striving, and they know what certain clients they need to get.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have someone from Arabia has 17-figure, 17-figure space. Have sculptures or painters from sculptures from Koens, or paintings from Van Gogh. But at the same time, you know, your piece will be in there. Okay, that's good money, but at the same time, the public don't see it.
Yeah.
So,
and you would prefer the public to see it.
Yeah. Because you can. If you say, for example, I make a bronze sculpture and it goes to a person like that. Okay, that's good. That's the price. That's honest. That's good. I could raise maybe the price because I know what kind of investment or what kind he has. But at a certain point, the moral facts will be stronger onto it. So maybe I could say the price with 2 zeros extra, 3 zeros extra, and I have a mansion after that with a studio shop and a helicopter to ride me to my day job.
Yeah. But then if you do an honest price, he might speak to someone else who knows someone else.
Connection.
Yeah,
And certain clients have come like that. So Ben and Manu, who came to me with the company. For example, I had the wall sculpture was on the chimney I talked about. Yep. He has a good friend who's a tattoo artist now. He was a baker first from trade, so very much with the hands on, and now he's doing tattoos. But in the beginning he bought one of my pieces, and he invested in the pieces. And now he's very interesting to have another piece, or even having my next book I'm been working on.
Yeah, that's another thing you talk about.
We should talk about that. Yeah.
How are you getting on with your book?
It's crazy. I'm not a white. That's why I don't give names to my sculptures. No, so I always dreamt about having made like a biography, and it's not some book I want to make being on a high horse, but it's something I want to share. So I have my pieces in it. I have my story, backstory, how I developed, how the community works, and talking about symposiums and competition. So symposium competitions is like the We Are Makers, having different skill sets and knowledge and all the sharing. It's all a big family. But for example, if I have had the Ice Hotel this year, I would fully document that to put also into the book. So I have I think I'm not at prototype 3.
Nice.
So with the text and the pictures, but I know I need to put more into it. And if I put more into it, I know, for example, it will be a self-published book, but it will be a number print. So you can order it online and they will print just one book. Because the machine are adapt. How is it called? There's a specific name for that. One piece print on demand. Yeah. Voilà. So it's a company that's very good with the print on demand factor, and I find it interesting because you can give certain options with a hardcover or a soft cover.
Yeah.
I like this because this is more into it, because if you have a hardcover, the hardcover, the pages after a certain time they go down.
Yeah.
So you bend more the back to it. So you need a strong back to have that. So for example, your edition 1 is more filled out than the other editions from thicknesses, but at the same time, prefer this because it's more into the hands. You have a certain curve feeling you can put on a lap, but having a print on demand gives the option to have a good price to people and international, because the book will be made so first in Dutch, then I have it in French and English, so in 3 languages. So first you need to have the basic done, and you learn from other books. So I have the book from my mentor given, I signed, and I was his first apprentice.
You were his first apprentice.
He never had someone
and he's had
apply for
anyone
anything.
since? Has he had anyone since?
No, he's someone who's working in a shop local, but he has, after that, he have maybe 2 or 3 apprentices, but I was his very first. So having this person, a mentor that's been just human also. He's not with someone who hurts and is open to knowledge and giving to the next. I was very much surprised to have learned so much and so receiving so much. That's why it's important to have certain connection with other people to what they have and what they are willing to give.
Yeah, what they're willing to share with
Yeah.
you.
And when are you looking at getting that book out there?
Oh, first of all,
The
I want
question.
the endless question, but I think so. There's now the situation for 2023. I have certain goals, some shows I want to do, and some sculptures I want to make. But at the same time, the ice hotel will be one I want to put into the book, because it has a certain connection to my first ice sculpting. So I have been ice sculpting since 2016. So, and I have been done different symposiums and competition, and
it feels like that would kind of finish the ice sculpting story quite nicely. You know,
yeah.
that's the
That's very much I wanted a complete story to have. So I like for you meet a lot of other sculptures, or for example, I also the competition in Valois. So that's where I did ice. They also offer snow, but in the summer they offer hay
sculpting.
hay sculpting.
Wow, never
Big
heard
question
of that.
mark.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Explain that one to us.
So that's another medium, again, another medium to work in. So hay sculpting is like you make a big construction of form and you wrap it around it with chicken wire,
Okay.
the hay, and a second wire, a chicken wire. So you give a shape. Like for example, you have an empty construction of wood, up, the beam, and then with the chicken wire you form around it. And you done the hay, and then you can make very much like hands coming out of the ground in hay. But imagine that's 5 meter tall. And then I met Franzi Agrawal, who's a German architect, design, and she also do yoga. And she can really good dance. But I met her in Canada doing first time snow sculpting. Okay, first time snow sculpting, and also learned from YouTube.
So what's snow sculpting though? What's different about snow sculpting from ice sculpting? Are you just digging? Is it like soft snow?
The ice sculpting is a transparent material.
Right.
So, but the snow you work with cubes, 3 by 3 meter or 4 by 4 meters cubes, and you work in a team. So you removing material and finding a piece within.
Right.
So you need to cut the blocks up, but there you work with chainsaw, cutting up, or like a long metal wire. With a cable and with little bolts on it. Every 10 centimeter bolt, and you cutting like styrofoam wire. Like up, and you have this massive block that 1 meter by 1 meter that's tumbling down 400 kilos.
Sounds
Quite
awesome.
a show. And the ground is trembling. But at the same time, snow, you, for example, you chip in it. You have we make certain tools for it.
Right.
So it's specifically like you have I learned that from another English sculptor who is also snow. He's one of the shows I went on last week, and he used this for sheep, getting the wool shears, but they're very thick.
Right.
So you can use that to, he put that, soldered that on the metal beam, and you chip around
okay.
very much. It's like having a big fork, but with heavy teeth
Nice.
onto it.
Big
So
tools.
yeah.
So it's
we
quite
make
frozen snow. It's quite
yeah.
hard.
They're
condensed.
compacted, so they're very
Right.
much. And after that, you do the big sculpture. You use, so for example, cheese graters, certain way, cheese graters, or just a wooden plank with screws on in a certain curve, and you shape the wood like a rasp,
Right. Yeah.
and then you can use sandpaper grit 40, and you sand the sculpture, and it's lifeless. It's so you don't.
I
It's,
can't really picture it. Like,
Yeah,
do
it's
you know
not
what I mean?
something I've ever seen before.
No,
Is snow
no,
sculpting, but it sounds absolutely
phenomenal.
phenomenal. That was a cross between fantastic and phenomenal.
Yeah.
For example, you see this. You have a hand, and so it's all support on one, and you see all the bends. This you can recreate in snow,
Yeah.
4 meter high, amazing life size. I did my first snow sculpture. So I was contacted by a friend I met at a symposium in Valor on Ice, and he said I wanted to go to Edmonton, Canada. I said, but I've never done snow. No, it's no worry. And so we talked about, and we want to do some sea team. And so, but he was already selected for a ice sculpting competition in China. And he said, yeah, I need to drop it, and say, can I take over? Right. And then I called a friend from me from school, say, you want to go to Canada to do snow sculpting? But I never done it. Me neither. So I learned from YouTube then how they do the cutting. I had my luggage with the chains in, and explained it to the
security.
Security. What's this for that? I'm an artist and have a model, and so I explained it in. And he speaks French, my friend, so his English was not so good at the time. So I did that, and then we came back the second year, and we made a human person with a buoy. So that was in the period, I think, 2019 or 2020. And it was a refugee, was when a lot of refugees went to Italy crossing the sea. And it was a buoy with someone's drowning with his hands up all the way up. So he had just the block of snow. It was like this. So, and it was hope on it. So on the buoy, but it was very much life size. You see every muscle, and that was a good aspect to have my friends with me, because he is automatically very strong. I learned a lot from him at that point. But him not knowing the techniques to do it, so I know how to use the techniques, how to clean it up. Yeah. So he knows how to work, and we divide and conquer. Because, for example, the block just went up there. So what we did, we cut up blocks, stack it, and at that point you got a sculpture that's 5 meter taller.
Wow.
So 5 meter tall from a block that's 3.5 meter. So you cheat.
Yeah.
That's a fun part also. You with snow you can stack like an igloo, but you use it in sculpture way. So you cut it up and you assemble with water, and it's like, for example, with ice you do the same thing. So they're very different parts. But with hay, for example, it's you assemble, you wrap it, and you have the form.
Yeah, it's more additive.
But thanks to Francie. So the second year I was in Edmonton doing the drowning sculpture. She was next to me, and she has a particular style of geometric shape. So she has made that year you have a perfect cube, and she cuts in an angle, and it's just you have that point of the corner, and you go to that point of the corner in the middle, and you go back. There's none of a bump. It's everything straight, and then you go to the other side, so everything is connected. Wow. So we're working with the lights. She's such a perfectionist that it doesn't define it in a dictionary. So she's just very stubborn, but she can dance some good tango or rock and roll. So that's how I met her there. So and then she's asked to come when she go to Valois and do the hay, and that's a good connection to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you meet other people who has other material, and I learned from that. And I wanted to do the hay another year with a friend of mine, so I know how they work with the hay, so I can involve someone else in taking a project for myself onto it to search those limits.
Yeah. And is that something you're always looking for? People to collaborate with, people to work with? Is that something you're very passionate about? It sounds like you are.
I'm very much I'm very much a big team player, but at the same time, I need to know what's happening.
Yeah, you like to come to the team with the right tools.
Yeah, with the right tools, everything prepared, everything safe, everything needs to be done correctly, just for quality of safety, but also the projects need to be done. So for example, the year I did the hay sculpture, I bought a silent compressor and nobody used it as a silent compressor. It was not against the rule. And now the year after, there's already 3 teams coming with a silent compressor because it works so much faster.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about some of the TV stuff you've done, because if you can. So recently you've done...
I'm just landed yesterday from Austria doing the second season of The Greatest Snowman for the BBC Two. It's South Shore. So
That's exciting.
That's exciting. But it's I can't talk about season 1 because season 2 is a couple.
Second year you've done it, isn't it?
It's a season 2 now. So you're just coming back for the season 2.
I've not watched season 1, so I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. You need to watch it. It's fun.
I do.
But it was presented with Sue Perkin.
Yeah.
So she's lovely. Oh,
Good.
I love her so much. But and the first season, I was contacted first to come as a judge, being the only professional snow and ice sculpture in Belgium. They needed someone exterior to judge, but at the last moment they asked for, because I haven't given a lot of knowledge how to do this, organize and all that.
It's a good position to be in.
Good position to be in as a point of a judge.
Yeah.
But then they said, they lack in experts for the snow sculptures. And they asked if I would be interesting to have not being judge, but being one of the snow sculptors, because we in season, every season, there are 5 celebrities, British celebrities, who are snow sculpting for the first time. And each of them have a snow angel or a little helper to guide them and assist them to making the snow sculpture in a reality. In a Christmas theme, having a perfect present, having the building phase, building something in snow, stacking blocks and gluing blocks together. And then in third, they learn from the first and the second round.
Sounds intense.
Sounds intense.
And how many days were you out there for doing that?
What?
How many days were you out there doing that for?
So I left for season 2. I left a day earlier there, so we have a good reunion with the team, because they learned a lot from the first season. Because the first season was more chaotic to do it. What do you want if you're first time doing a book? It takes ages. But having the right connection and doing that, and the amazing hotel we had.
It looked lovely. I saw your Instagram.
Yeah,
I was a bit jealous.
Sorry guys, I make you jealous, but
it looks good.
work hard, play hard.
Yeah, that's it.
But we guide the celebrities to do that, and the first day we already had online by email discussing what the celebrities wanted to create. So in the theme of the perfect present, and then we said, okay, that's possible to make. But those are the jeopardies, and because also the material, it's not so 100%, because you very much, the day we came, it was green plains. And the night, it snowed. Right. So it was this season and last season also.
Yeah.
So they were very lucky on the snow. But they had contingency plans for that, I understand. But we, as explanations, what can be done. But also for television, you see that in season 1, and that will be seen in season 2. They have, for certain rounds, they have a hero shot. They explain what they need to do without the celebrities, just with the shots with the judges and with presenters too. That's what they need to make. So, for example, I need to remember last year. It has been so long, over a year. But we make a sculpture that's in the theme of it, so it can be presented on TV. Damn it!
You don't have to remember.
But I landed yesterday back, so it was a heavy journey. You wake up at 7 because the other sculptures went to England. I was the only Belgian guy there, except for the two Steel sisters were from.
And they were there as well.
They were the judges.
Oh right, nice.
Yeah, they're great judges, but don't mess with them.
Yeah.
No. And we already had also the third. There were three judges, so we had the Steel Sisters, and then we had Taslam, who is a renowned English sculptor, has done a lot about the natural museum pieces. Yeah. He's very strong on what he do and very interesting to talk to. For example, we have the experts of snow sculptors who aid the celebs, but also creating the perfect sculptures, for example, what they need to build or what they need to make. Yeah. Or for example, the TV shot. For example, we made it was designed by, I think, Pippa or Lisa, a shot of the first season with a snowman, but with a jacket on and with a high hat. So very much you see like an animated snowman. Yeah. So that was really fun to do. But Pippa, Lisa, Kate, and Thomas and I. So we were the experts who was guiding the celebrities towards their perfect sculpture.
Nice.
So that's cool. You don't hear that every day.
And that's a great thing for season 2. I had the same team again.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So that was very important for me. Or I didn't do the job, I'll be honest. Because it's very important to have the same team because you can build on it. Same thing for the TV station crew. They learned a lot from season 1 and they evolved well. Good. And they listened for certain parts of advice of us, because they always ask what we can do better or for the tools and all that. Good. So it has also to be happening safe. So you explain to the celebrities how you walk with the tools to do it. And they're also normal people. Last year we had Johnny Vega.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's amazing. He's amazing lad to talk to. And we had Liam, who's a baker. I don't know his second name. He was on Dancing with the Stars, but the Masked Stars in Britain.
I don't really watch that. Terrible at watching.
TV,
no, we don't.
But he was just recently. But he does also the Bake Off Kids.
Yeah.
But Liam is amazing to talk to. You have Lawrence, for example, who was in the season 1, who is an interior designer with. So he won the first challenge. Everybody sees that, so I can say it. But at the same time, you see them develop in the style. And I had, last year I worked with one of the celebrities who was Sherry, and she's very good. I don't know the second name, pop of the head, but
I'll need to Google it.
yeah. But in the third challenge, the first challenge we made a dog of her. She had a little. What do you say? It's like a toy that you sleep with it.
No.
Like a little Chihuahua dog, like a little.
No. It's a toy for kids to sleep with a dog or
like a teddy bear.
Or a teddy bear.
Teddy bear.
But it presented the dog she had at the time, and so we made this huge. The cubes of snow. They are 2 meters tall and 1 meter by 1 meter. So she made the dog out of the cube. Yeah. The blocks are nice like that. But then for the third challenge, because she learned a lot and she didn't know what to make. She didn't have an idea. It's all at last minute. And that I like living on the edge.
Yeah, that would stress me out, but
I had this for season 2. My celeb had an idea for the third round, but she didn't like it. And so she changed last minute. So it was but it was better because it was a very personal piece. Yeah, you need to watch it. It's very much. She's done well because I'm very proud of her. What she's done, she has learned from the first challenge and then for the second challenge, and then the third challenge she very went for it.
It means a lot to you that people are listening and taking on what you're showing them. You know, it means a lot to you for them to listen and like take on the skills that you've shown them.
Yeah. That's important because the level of celebs what they created also learned because of the TV station, listen to our device, also learned from that and the experience on the ground, on ground zero. But for the third challenge for Sherry, she made an image of her mother as an angel. So the mother of the angel, she was sitting like this, but she had angel wings, and the angel wings were very much fine curved, like very much like so beautiful. But because the snow we made was so thin, the wings, so with the light it went through. So giving an effect of float. with a limited of quality of material, because we don't work with that kind of quality of material. They had their work to it, but we use techniques like sludge. Sludge is water with fresh snow in it, and it's like a mortar. So they're filling up the seams. They can glue two parts together that freezes.
Right.
So they had their work cut out of it.
Yeah. But you sound like you all had fun.
We had fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we worked as experts, creating perfect sculptures that present the show of the rounds, or presenting the sculpture, presenting the celebrities, like Sue Perkins. She will be standing next to a snow sculpture. I don't gonna say it what it is, but she had fun with the sculpture. But she also went in the show, and she learned from us on the show. So I was next to her, she was learning how to glue, how to do, and she's a person who has very much knows what the value of the experts are.
Yeah.
That's good.
Without the experts, there's no show. I'm gonna tell you honest.
Yeah.
So, but we bring that value of knowledge to the table, and there's a respect of the station towards that.
Sounds like a good TV show.
Yeah, it does.
It's fun to watch. It will be on Christmas Eve.
Christmas
coming
Eve. Oh, that's exciting. That's my Christmas Eve
Yeah,
started.
yeah. No, normally it's will have Christmas Eve, or what you got the day after Boxing Day. So they already discussed to have it maybe on Boxing Day, but I think they will have it on Christmas Eve, because on Boxing Day everybody is relaxed.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next for you and Maximus Sculpture? We know you want to get into the ice hotel, so that's a big goal. What other goals have you got?
Well, doing wood sculpting I do all year, but when winter is coming, then it's ice and snow.
Yeah.
So I'd very much like to keep that going. But for example, in December I'm doing a live show ice sculpting a polar bear full size in Ghent. 17th of December it will be for an event, and I'm doing in 5 hours. I sculpt a block of ice was 2 meter long, 1.2 meter high, and 50 thick, and it weighs 1,350 kilos.
Oh my goodness.
That's already a small one. And the ice hotel, they have 3 tons blocks.
Wow.
But having this opportunity to sculpt something like that with the public, because I'm a showman.
Yeah.
I'm a showman because I love
It's good you feel comfortable and confident to do that. Not like I wouldn't. I'd be like,
But it's always you have this connection with the public. You create something, you share something, to have make something that's temporary for the people to view, and they will memorize it because they were at that point.
There. Yeah.
Because the rest is in the cocktail.
Yeah. Good.
So
that's one of the big ones. And then what about the future years? What about years coming up?
What I see for mostly in personal life, I would love to find the perfect home, to kind of have a suited life to have. Yep. It will not be having with the studio space because I have a great space here now, but I think it would not be affordable, or even having a studio space next to you. I think mentally it would not be good to have a separation of all that.
Yeah. So we done that. We converted the garage into an office when I started working from home, because I love working from home, but I don't like working in my home.
Yeah.
You need to
a little space outside that you can close the door on and shut it at night.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So I would 100%.
At the same time, I know have this little bit of difference between main job and this, but at the same time, when I'm at home doing desk work, doing research, developing projects, research on material, paying bills. We don't like that.
Yeah.
But
So
at the same time, you prepare already. I already have 4 things planned for 2013. The Ice Hotel. There is a symposium, for example, in France. We have oak trees 5 meter tall, and the symposium is every 2 years. So I already know the paperwork for that to do a project. I'm just waiting on the team. Because some competition and symposiums, they have a team or they don't have a team.
Right.
Like Valois, they don't have a team. So a team. Did I say it right?
Yeah. Team, yeah.
THEME.
A theme.
Team.
Yeah.
Sorry, sorry, my accent is not good. I have been spending a week with English folk, but Yeah.
You're doing well.
I gathered some up at the bar, but they're all right.
That's good. So you're waiting for a theme for that one, and that's one of your, and that's the wood sculptor.
There's wood
stuff.
sculpting. That's something for in the summer, but I'm really keen on creating my own symposium.
Yeah.
I have the opportunity to travel around the world in certain competition because they give how a symposium works. They say we have this, and this is the budget you're getting paid, and this is the budget you have on travel. They're not all the same. Some symposiums they take advantage of the artists. They're just paying the transport, but you're not paying for your work. Yeah, they give lodgements and they give food, but no bar tap. But at the same time, it needs to be. Some symposiums are very honest. So, for example, the Oakwood is in France. Is from a friend of mine who I met on a sculpture symposium in France, where I made the eye, for example. And he said once to me, you need to create your proper symposium because you have the certain style of how to speak with people and how to organize this. Of you have a certain, you know what you're looking for. But if you wait, I'm getting out on the question. Getting off question. What was the question?
No, not at all. The question was what's the plan
So
for
yeah,
you in the future?
creating my proper symposium because you travel all the world and you go to their doorstep. But I would love to have the world coming to my doorstep here.
Would you do that here in Haan?
In the Haan.
Yeah.
Yeah, zeker weten.
That'd be good.
That would be good. But yeah, for certain things you need to have everything sorted out with the mirror and with public space and sourcing the trees, having those connections. Also, yeah, you have to have your responsible. For example, I know how many cubic wood I go through or mileage, and I know I have a friend of me in France who's planting trees, so I know. When I see him, I pay a little bit to have the plants tree. So always need have also a responsible way of treating the material. But getting a symposium made by myself, even if it's every 1 year or every 2 years, that's something I dream of. And it's not just with the wood, because I would bring, for example, the ice also as a demonstration, or even, for example, what they do for the oak, the artists can bring their pieces and they just take 10% of the sale. So they have an exposition space, and there are over 3,000 people that visit every day on the symposium so they have 5 days to make, but there's a lot of public interest.
Yeah, that's good, because a lot of galleries, certainly galleries back home, are 50-60% usually, isn't it?
Oh, you're lucky.
I think
they
it's
are.
expensive, so
Yeah, but I dream of doing the Ice Hotel, the dream of creating a proper symposium, making a book to share, or even I would love to teach people. I'm very much into sharing and teaching other
Do
people.
workshops and things like that?
Yeah, that would be interesting. But for example, for the ice or doing symposiums and having students from my old school coming with me, everything is paid, and they're getting something and they have an experience of it. That would be wonderful to have to do, because the symposium, they provide the budget, but I provide the connection. And a certain way, for example, for January, I will go back for ice sculpting, and I will making an ice sculpture that's 3 meter tall. But for the next week, there is the snow sculpting, and I had the Steel Sisters. They wanted to come with me,
right,
because they never gotten in, and I said, "Yeah, I have the connection. We can go." And I kept my promise, and I said, "Hey, I have the paperwork," and we developed this sculpture of it, and it was not taken. Too bad, but it was an experience. But they are now into the list of receiving emails of the symposium.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're in the Ice Hotel, you receive, and I've sent my first file every year. In 2016, I receive every year an application form to do, and every year it's snack at me. Hey, what did you do?
But you're getting closer. You're getting closer every year.
Yeah, because that's great. I have now the Steel Sisters, so it's send it over. We correct you on some certain things that could be better to have you there.
Brilliant.
And then Elizabeth, I met her the first time. She's already told me normally you do it in a team, and some moments if you have done a few years as a team, you TEAM
Theme, yeah.
theme.
Yeah.
You can create a room by your own.
Right.
But she told me you can pull it off alone because
Too much
how the adrenaline and energy I have and working with people, and that's a great part of it.
Good.
So that's why I want to go first alone before involving other people into a project.
Brilliant.
That can be maybe better scale or because I want to prepare some stuff. I even have, for example, the third time I went to Valois for ice sculpting, and I sculpted a person that's freeing himself. Like an image framed, the free sculptor it's called. There's a YouTube video out of there how it made it. But next to me there was a young guy from Taiwan who has bought tools from China where they make those specialty tools. And I teach him how to, it was his first time, and teach him how to use the ice, gluing the ice and all that. And I bought his tools from him.
Yeah.
He said, I don't need, I bought them specifically. So he invested a little bit in. But now he will coming back this year, and I will be over. And he said, you need tools? Yeah. I got my shopping list ready.
So he can bring them over.
You have a good, bring them over, because I already want to have, for example, if I know I get a good price, an honest price on tools, because if you buy tools that are here, they are mostly 30 times the price.
Really?
Yeah. So if you have a good connection there, you can have the transport correctly, but that gives me access of tools that can be access to younger generations for accessing that. So if I can, for example, having the tools from them, from him, learning how he bought it, having these tools to come to me, I can or resell them or sell them on to other sculptors.
Yeah.
Like when I told that to the team I did on the show, they I want a piece of candy of that.
Yeah. Quite.
But it's important to have this knowledge shared of how to get them and how to do that. But I want, for example, a big case with all different tools to have, for example, students with me coming with me to a symposium and they have the right tools to use it. Or, for example, if I had going to Valois with the girls, they never been to Valois. They don't know how the material works there. The material is very different from the ice hotel, but the ice hotel is 50 snow, 50 ice. Yeah. So it's nice. That's very nice. You can very much different work, but in Valois it's fully snow.
Right.
But I have a certain collection of tools, so I would go there with the car, with enough chainsaws and everything. So everything is provided, and they come by plane in their full suit and having 2 extra pairs of arm in reserve.
Yeah.
So
fab, brilliant.
And they're strong. They're strong to work with.
Yeah.
So they understand the pressure because you have a certain limit of time to create it.
Oh, I can imagine. That's
and we were also snow and ice sculptors. They're a different breed at all. So they are, for example, for ice and for snow. At 11 in the village there, at 11 the sun is out, so you cover your snow or ice sculpture in certain parts. If it's for snow, you have bigger pieces towards the shadow, towards the sun, so it protects it, but the details you put in the shadow.
Ah, okay.
So they don't melt or they don't influence too much. But for example, for ice, you need to fully pack them in. So the silver gold leaf wrap for the cold, you wrap them in that, protecting for the sun, because between 11 and 3, so 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. The sun is fully on them, but if you don't protect them, the sun goes into the ice, and it cracks inside and it can explode.
Ah, okay.
Block is lost.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, maybe get it up and get it in a cocktail.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's ice cubes after that.
It's ice. Yeah, no ice fibers after that. But at that moment, we drink, eat, sleep. at the moment when shadow is, and we work at the night, maybe in 2, 3 a.m. in the morning,
Oh gosh.
all night, but we are all together there.
And
having
it's
fun.
Having fun. Yeah, there is a rule. You have to be minimum with 2. So if one cuts off his head, the other one can tell the organization to cover up the evidence.
Important stuff.
But there is also the team player of working the night is much more interesting because you have the temperature to cut the ice perfectly. Because the ice, when it heats up, even it has its own negative temperature. It's like chewing gum if it heats up. So it has a certain rigidity to work in. But if it's very good cold, you can
just
it's like butter.
Yeah.
It's amazing with a hot knife through butter.
Nice. Kate, we've been going for some time, but you've
What's
usually
the time?
So how many memory cards do you got?
Big ones.
And this is with just on water. If it was in
on
beer,
water,
hey, we got to celebrate edition 10. I'm honored.
I know.
We are podcast 10, but Kate's usually got a fantastic question right about now.
Yeah.
Shoot me.
Yeah. What advice would you give your younger self?
What advice? Being less stubborn, maybe. That has also created me because my grandfather always said, when you fall, you need to stand up. That's on my mother's side. It's amazing. I learned a lot of value from him. But my younger self, what would I tell him? Because, being fallen so much in my life has also made me a lot stronger. But if I had this mind, maybe put this mind back at when I was sculpting the first time at my school, or even in the 5th grade, understanding what the future holds. I'm not going to win the lottery ticket, but the point is having this knowledge of what can I be developing or expecting, but at the same time, I don't think I would. Yeah, I would advise, go hard, because I learned. It's a very difficult question, but also that past has influenced me where I am now.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
That you need to be with time. You cannot cheat.
No.
So you cannot influence that. Yeah. And in limit, what was the phrase again? I was in France, and it was a little bit. Everybody at the table has their turn in French to create a phrase. But it was about red wine. That was in French. Il n'y a pas limite dans la vie, mais c'est la vie qui se limite. And there's no limit in life, but it's life that limits it. So you need to take every day for a certain value of what you can create, of just even if sitting in your chair and enjoy the moment, even the hit of sunlight.
There's no limit in life, but life that limits it.
Yeah.
I think
There we go.
that's
That's
a
a
good
really
one
good
to
way
wrap
to
it up on.
Yeah, to
We'll
finish
wrap it
on.
up at that. Crack a couple of beers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Brilliant.
thanks very much.
We need to celebrate podcast number 10.
Absolutely. Maximus, thanks so much for your
Yeah,
time. We're obviously still going to hang
Thanks
out
for
with
coming.
you for the rest of today and a bit of time tomorrow before we move on. So let's wrap up.
Where are you going tomorrow?
We've got
I can't.
Ghent. We're in Ghent tomorrow
Yeah.
to see
Guy who
a
makes
flute
flips maker. He makes flips.
Ooh, you're gonna have fun there.
Yeah, I think so. And then on Monday, we're away to see Wilco that makes the motorbikes, a 19 built. And then on Tuesday, we're back this way to meet Free Ranger Canoes.
That's in that
So
one.
this, you very much started your Europe tour here in Podcast, and now edition 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
And then back
The
up
folks
the
have
road.
something to listen to watch to.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
And then back up the road, and then hopefully, turn the new year, we're going to get out and see Courtney and some of her friends in Norway and some makers in Ireland. So
yeah, we just want to travel and just
have these conversations.
Yeah, but at the same time, this grows the community. This gets them out, myself out. It's like that. It's like the symposiums. Symposiums are my tool to bring a message to the world in a certain theme. Yeah. Even I make contemporary pieces, but this is a big tool, I believe, for every maker, every artist who wants to bring out their work without having to spend money. Yeah. Because you guys know what the value is of having shared your work with others. And
it was one of the big things for us is making sure that, like, Kate having been a maker and spent thousands on advertising, like, this is free to the makers.
Because there are a lot of makers being connected, saying, "Yeah, we pay. You can pay. You can be in our magazine."
Yeah.
But this is a pure, honest of hard work.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
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 And that I appreciate very much because this touched me a lot because this is like a symposium in a book for me.
I
Having the
we
world
love it.
together.
Yeah, we love it, and we've got a lot of big plans for the next few years with it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can just keep growing it and keep getting the support.
But it's like that. Ben and Manu have sent me towards you guys, putting a connection.
Yeah.
And I already have certain guys for edition 7 and 6.
Yeah.
I already had a great guy from Italy who's making sculptural pipes.
Yeah.
Edition 6 or 7, we'll see.
Yeah. Not in a 6, but definitely 7.
Voilà.
Yeah.
So
It's
having
amazing
this community,
'cause,
I think how big is the list of makers?
Oh yeah, don't know.
Big.
It filled good up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fills up fast. It fills up real fast now.
It's just trying to get the variety on the one edition, you know.
That's
There's
good.
just- There's
That's
just
good.
so much
Yeah,
That's good.
location, variety of location and variety of craft.
mediums, yeah.
Yeah. It's,
So yeah, there will be a lot of libraries filled with the VR makers.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so.
We also.
Yeah.
Also, I have
Thank
got a big heart for it. So
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay.